At last, that weight is offloaded. My parents are living at my house with me starting today. Scott, my husband, destroyed our family house and stood before it after my parents passed away. He yelled out, "Hurry up and bring the inheritance to our place." Shocked, I stood there and questioned, "What are you talking about? Have you lost your sanity?" At his remarks, I laughed uncontrollably. I understood the nature of all this was about. "Why are you chuckling? Do you not grasp?" My in-laws and Scott, perplexed, glanced at me. Told them the truth at that point. Amy Jackson is my name. Born the eldest daughter of average office workers, I came from. We were a fairly typical family. I have one brother. When I married Scott 30 years ago, we had 2 children. Juggling job and parenting, I unexpectedly came to be 52. Both Eric, my son, and Judy, my daughter, had grown up to be adults, living on their own, beginning their careers. Now was the chance to unwind with my partner. Though I felt content, life was just normal. Though my modest life changed one winter day, I imagined I would keep aching like way. My father died abruptly in an automobile accident. At the moment, he only was 68. Grieving all around our family, my mother in particular was so depressed she could not even eat. "Mom, you have to eat even though I know it's difficult," I repeated often. "I know, but right now I simply lack appetite," she answered. "It feels like something is caught in my chest." Watching her for some time, my brother and I felt she was simply emotionally disturbed. She fast dropped weight, though, in just 3 weeks. Concerned, I visited the hospital with her. The doctor's diagnosis was shockingly cancer. The cancer advanced, hence surgery was not a choice. She had around 1 year to live. Not yet got the opportunity to actually look after my parents. Now my mother was suffering terrible disease when I thought I had lost my father. I felt considerably more depressed than I had after my father died. I could not, however, spend eternity in grief. It fell to me to take care of my mother as my brother lived far away and was unable to assist. Told Scott I wanted to share a house with my mother. During her sickness, I couldn't leave her alone, emotionally as much as physically. But I was astonished by Scott's response. He sighed, obviously unhappy. "We just finished handling your dad's funeral, and now I have to be dragged into more of your family's problems. You don't have to say it like that. Could you simply drive her from the hospital back? Are we really expected to live with her?" I begged. She might, in fact, feel lonely. Should things not go as planned, perhaps I could just spend some time living at my family house. Scott started to get enraged. "Who is going to look after my food while you are away? Naturally, I will come and cook. Regarding cleaning?" Demandingly, "Who's going to do the laundry?" I nodded silently. Though I tried to do as best I couldn't do everything as before. Being faced with this fact stung. I wouldn't be able to counter someone claiming I was being selfish for wanting to look after my mother. Though my mother, being thoughtful, would say everything is good as it is, I truly wanted to do something for my folks. "Good, but you hear me not contributing in any way," Scott regretfully said to my quiet. Though he behaved haughtily, he had finally accepted. Though I thought he was horrible, I said, "I'm sorry and thank you." He had consented to my wish. I thanked him and stifled my want to object. Still in turmoil, Scott and I moved in with my mother at my family house. Originally, we had been living in a house Scott's company paid for. Scott was an only child, hence we did not want to buy our own house since his father truly wanted us to live together. Eventually, we were planning to move in with Scott's parents. For business, living in the company housing was more handy. The rent was just roughly $11,000 a month, thus it was not a major strain. But we have more space now that we live at my family house, and we are free from paying that. For Scott, living together wasn't entirely horrible. Scott kept his word. He did not assist with anything, but I am happy to live with my mother. She appeared vivacious, but she spent a lot of time lying down during the day and felt weak a lot. I controlled her meds, fed her, and cooked her meals. She could not have done all that by herself. I'm sorry, Amy. I appreciate it. Having you here with me greatly helps. Many times my mother expressed her thanks by saying, I should thank Scott too. She was appreciative of Scott too, as she had no idea of the nasty remarks he had made on sharing a house. One evening, as Scott came home after my mother had gone to bed, I brought up her treatment during dinner. Scott sent me a look and continued, I'm not sure what you want me to say. Refusing even to pay attention. I told you I am not contributing anything. I wanted someone to blow out frustrations to. Someone to see. I just wanted Scott to pay attention. Scott's attitude stayed the same even 2 months, 3 months. Living together, he grumbled constantly, behaving as though he were doing a huge favor. Day by day, his behavior grew more annoying. I could not, however, say anything against it. I was growing more strained between thinking about my mother and showing Scott some consideration. My mother's illness worsened quickly around the 2-year prognosis. She was hospitalized and died 5 days later. I was devastated even though I had psychologically ready myself. Right away, my brother's family and my kids were quite helpful. But in situations like this, you truly want your partner right at hand. Scott was not helping with the funeral preparations at all, though. He was laughing and chatting with his parents in a corner. My brother had led the most of the preparations, and somehow we were ready for the burial. Scott, who ought to be in the family section, was at the very rear of the relative area nevertheless. Scott, I want you to sit in the family section, I advised. He answered, No, I'm good here. I am not a blood related after all. But you are my husband, I said. His mother then interjected, He's your spouse, but he's not your mother's son. Our son is Scott, hence he is an alien. You know Amy should take seat in the family section. Finding out from my in-laws hurt. I lost all words. From where I come from, sons-in-law often sit in the family area during funerals. With Scott not in the family section, distant relatives began gossiping, wondering whether we had divorced, but this would vary depending on the place. People gossip, but if Scott had simply sat there, all this could have been prevented. Though a little disappointed Scott wasn't by my side, we were able to see my mother depart without incident. Following the funeral, Scott, my brother's family, my kids, his parents came back to my house. I said to my in-laws, Thank you for coming, especially at such a busy time, and offered some tea. Laughing, they answered, Really, it's something. First your father, today your mother. Although these funeral costs weigh heavily on us as well, at least that marks the end of it. Their statements really startled me. From what do they mean? Their stating of such a thing astounded me. I feigned a grin and got off. Then I listened as Scott spoke with his parents. Must have been difficult for you, Scott, living with outsiders. Indeed, handling Amy's whims proved difficult. A husband should not merely do as his wife orders. You have the right to reject something if you find it objectionable, Scott remarked. I started to grip my hands tightly. Their voices, laughing and talking, were intolerable. This was not novel, though. Scott's parents had always been harsh and callous. His mother asked Scott and I, Couldn't you find someone more attractive? When we were getting married. For grandchildren, I'm not expecting much. His father laughed. They say after 3 days beauty gets monotonous. You won't get tired working with Amy. Scott merely laughed as well. Looking back, neither Scott nor his parents had offered me one consoling word either at the funeral for my father or following the death of my mother. They actually laughed at me instead. Though I felt bad about pushing Scott, now I wondered about his personal behavior. While only trying to do right by my mother, I had become overly preoccupied with Scott. Given Scott wasn't supportive, I came to see I shouldn't have felt so awful about him. Angry, I boiled while Scott and his parents carried on laughing and talking in another room. My kids and brother's family would have been offended if they had heard them, but happily they were in the kitchen. Being the only one who heard Scott and his parents talking made me glad. Then my mother-in-law raised her voice. "Amy." Shocked, "Yes," I said. Holding her mother's pocketbook, she requested, "Can I have this?" Lost in confusion, I stammered, "Oh, well, your mother won't be needing it anymore." Scott said, "Right. You should bring it home. Perhaps I'll simply keep it," she remarked, taking up and closely examining the pocketbook. Her bravado astounded me, particularly considering shortly after the funeral. Taking the bag from her, I exclaimed sharply, "No, you can't." Her demeanor changed, not in response to the purse, but rather in response to me, her daughter-in-law, standing up to her. Still, I stayed to my feet. "We aren't yet ready to go through my mother's stuff. Her belongings will be shared among the family later." Red with rage, my mother-in-law turned. "What do you mean? Are you suggesting I belong nowhere? Earlier at the burial, you mentioned that even Scott felt alienated from my mother. How come Scott is an outsider when your family is not?" I corrected. Hearing this, Scott and his father both went red. "What are you expressing? Tell Mom apologies. How disrespectful of the daughter-in-law to talk like that." Their ruckus pulled everyone from the other room. After all the work we had done to attend the funeral, I did not expect to be labeled as an outsider. "Let us go home, Dad," my mother-in-law yelled at me in front of everyone and bolted from our house. Somehow, even Scott became enraged and departed with his parents. "What happened? Were you actually calling your mother-in-law an alien?" Having heard just her side, everyone asked me. Taken out of context, it would have sounded as though I was the one acting aggressively, but I told everyone about the circumstances and one person criticized me. My kids pointed out, "Grandpa and Grandma should be more considerate of other people's feelings." That's just how Grandpa, Mom, and Dad have always been. Though my kids sided with me, I still couldn't forgive those three. Since that day, Scott hadn't been home for some time. I hadn't even got in touch to him. I wasn't sure if I could forgive him even if he did, and I didn't think I should be the one to apologize. I understood, though, that this cannot be the status quo indefinitely. One day Scott returned as well. "Welcome home," I said to him, stifling the resentment that sprang at seeing him. "It's been rough, huh?" His austere comments were an attempt at concern, and I was surprised. "Take the youngsters on a journey," he said, passing me travel coupons. "It will be a nice change of scene for you." I had no words. Tears instead began to trickle down my face. Though I was touched that Scott followed their suggestion, it could have been theirs. I got right on calling the kids to arrange the vacation. Actually, Dad offered this suggestion. It's surprising, isn't it? My suggestion startled the children. It seemed like Scott had truly given a gift. Laughing, I asked Dad if he felt guilty about what happened. I appreciatively took Scott's travel coupons. "I'll be off then." "Sure, take your time. Stay at their homes with the children as well." "We're not. Really, I cannot be away that long." "Don't worry about me. At my parents' I will unwind. Just enjoy yourself." Scott sent me off with that. Judy was pleased to have me visit, hence before the spa trip I stopped by her house, then Gary's. While looking after my mother, I hadn't been able to visit them, thus I assisted by making and freezing meals for them. "Mom, thanks, you should relax." Both of them commented, happy to have my cooking at home. This really helps. Scott's recommendation helped to create this possibility. Then arrived the much-awaited spa trip. I lounged with my kids at the hot springs. The grief of losing my parents and the tiredness from caring seemed to have healed really a lot. Spent over a week gone, but my children came back home beaming. That was enjoyable. Dad deserves thanks once again. Judy laughed. True, just once, but I wonder if he's up to something. Don't mention that. Dad considered us personally in his own sense. I burst out laughing, planning to share the memories with Scott and begin our life together once more. I was mute when I got home. What happened to the house? I looked around in shock. The family house that ought to have been there vanished, even though the position was clear-cut. Then Scott materialized out of nowhere. Then his parents followed. Standing there stunned, they were smirking at me. "Scott, what's going on?" Still attempting to keep cool, I asked. With the same nauseating smile, Scott continued, "Finally, I'm rid of that baggage. My parents are living in with me at my residence starting today." "What are you chatting about?" I said, trying to keep cool. "Have you gone insane? Your family house is no more standing. Bring the inheritance right over here fast. Anything you inherited, it is Scott's now." Then I understood that Scott had disappeared the house. It was all for the inheritance. Like this treachery, I became unboundedly depressed and angry as I considered the future on my trip home. But Scott would not want to see the house destroyed. I won't let it. When I saw their grinning grins, I started laughing. Scott and his father could understand my laughing. "For what reason are you laughing? What a strange woman. Has she gone nuts?" Looking at me as though I were ghostly, my mother-in-law said. I spoke out, facing the three of them. "Do you people know what you are talking about? I have not inherited one penny, hence inheritance is not possible." Saying that, I started laughing once more. They had assumed, with the bequest, they would become wealthy. Their insane fantasies and behaviors made me uncontrollably laugh. "What exactly do you mean? Show yourselves," Scott sought. I kept my mouth closed, though. Saw no need in enlightening them. "I want not to live among strangers. Should you wish to share a house, go ahead alone." Ignoring Scott's query and turning down his advice infuriated my mother-in-law. "You can't help with our household. You helped with your parents. You are aware of the situation. Then—" "I agreed to live with you, didn't I?" she shrieked. "I told you I didn't want to share a house. Have you forgotten that you decided to share a house to cut housework? Turned them down one after another. Also, demolishing the family house in such manner. You simply shouldn't do some things." I yelled at them, then turned away. Scott cried out after me, "Where are you going?" I did not, however, turn around. I really didn't want to see Scott's face. Just now I needed somewhere to sleep for the night. I went right to see a lawyer. Not that simple is demolishing a house. The house belonged to my mother still. An astounding fact emerged when I considered which firm had done it. Scott and his father had wrecked it personally. Working in demolition, his father asked friends and even leased large machinery. The preparation was exact. They even handed me travel vouchers meant to be thrown away. At the knowledge of being missiled, tears welled up in my eyes. Unbounded frustration was intolerable. How would one punish all three of them? Started to tearfully describe my circumstances. The attorney graced me with a nice smile. "Scott tore down the house in your mother's name illegally. He could be held accountable for damages and charged with property destruction. First, let's demand Scott and his parents a formal apology." I nodded in agreement, and the attorney moved swiftly in the required direction. Furious about the legal letter he received, Scott contacted me a few days later. "What's with this certified letter?" he demanded. "Oh, you understood. You wrecked my priceless house, hence naturally you have to pay for it." "Paid? We stated we were heading to my folks' house. I destroyed a house nobody was going to occupy. Not asking for pay, you should be thanking me. Now bring the inheritance and come back home," he remarked haughtily. "I appreciate you wrecking my house. Try not to make me laugh. Also, what inheritance? It is not yet settled either," I yelled in response. Silent, Scott seemed surprised by my wrath. a rare outburst of which I seldom exhibited. I chuckled when the house was destroyed because exactly this was the year I spent with my mother. We would surely talk about issues of inheritance. I thus informed my brother I wanted nothing and should be giving all to him. He so inherited all the cash and stocks. Living far away and unable to handle it, he insisted I should get the house. Should I not be living there, it may be rented. That was the approach. Either you and your father pay the amount stated in the letter, or restore the house to its original condition. I was thinking about settling this amiably. Well, nice. I'll file a police report and sue you if you can't pay, I answered. Starting to justify himself, Scott added, I'm sorry, I didn't think you would get so angry. Naturally, I'm enraged. What do you suppose? I started to snap. Scott seemed to believe he wouldn't have to live with his parents should my family house be gone. His father loved Eric and had always wanted to share a home. Scott had turned down living together before, citing challenging commutes, but his folks believed I was the one opposing it. He so persuaded them by wrecking my house and presenting it as though I would be moving in with them using the inheritance. After learning such a thing, though, I couldn't pardon him. Please let me break off here. I intended no damage, he claimed. Also, should he be sincerely apologetic, then accept the payment, I said, and hung the phone. Scott kept messaging apologies and calling. I pulled him aside, saying, If you're sorry, just transfer the money. Although my childhood house cannot be rebuilt, this was the only approach I could cope with my intolerable emotions. I resided in Judy's house. My kids and the family of my brother knew about the circumstances. Though my brother must have been furious about our house being destroyed without his permission, he responded, I won't intervene, but I'll help in any way I can. Do what you believe to be best. Everyone criticized Scott's behavior and backed me. 1 month went by without any alimony or salary from Scott. He never contacted me over that period. I could not live with Judy always. To at least lay a livable basis, I wanted the money right away. Against my will, something unearthly happened. Showing me her smartphone screen, Judy observed, It looks a lot like Grandma's. When I saw that, I startled myself. It was a listing on an app designed for flea markets. Like my mother's, Judy's apron was a special one I had created for her. What? This is Grandma's apron. I made it, hence I'm confident, I mentioned. Judy looked rapidly over other listings. The vendor appears to have lately joined the app without any transactions or reviews yet. Listing about 50 items, I was horrified to see that my mother owned every one of them. I knew right away Scott was it. After wrecking the house, he was the only one who could have grabbed my mother's possessions. I got right on calling Scott. What's this about the app? I begged. Announcing his irritation, Scott answered, What app? Don't engage in stupidity. You are not selling Mom's items with permission. Then call off those listings right now, I insisted. Looking terrified, Scott answered, What? Not at all. Not me either. Who else would do such a thing? I'm right now on my way to have everything back, I remarked and hung up. Then I left right away to visit Scott's folks with Judy. Where in Mom's house are her? I requested right away upon our arrival, confronting Scott at the door. I know nothing about it, he stammered. Tell the truth, please, Dave. Judy joined me in putting pressure on Scott. He appeared confused. Our presence caught Scott's parents, who came out. Hey, Judy, you're here. Scott's mother greeted, delighted to see her grandchild. Furious, Judy said, Grandma, tell Dad to tell the truth. The truth. Asked Grandma, passed away recently. Her possessions. Dad apparently is selling them, Judy remarked. At Judy's words, Scott's mother laughed heartily. Scott, looking worried, kept saying, It really wasn't me. Then his mother yells, Scott is selling them. That is impossible. It is me that is marketing them. My blood seemed to have frozen. Scott most certainly knew about it, looking almost as though this is negative. He gazed at his mother. Judy gasped, but his mother joyfully carried on. What? You know, it's quite labor-intensive. I have to meticulously pack everything and ensure the pictures appear decent. She was chatting blissfully about the app, seemingly unaware of the fact she was selling stolen goods. I battled to hold back from running straight towards her. Right off the listings, "Those are yours for sale." Judy begged her grandmother, tears in her eyes and rage visible. Still, Scott's mother appeared unhappy. "What's the major deal? At last I came upon a pastime I adore. I sell the rest for a little pocket money after using the items I can. It helps ward against dementia. Judy wants me to keep well and live long since I am the only grandma left." She spoke casually. It had no effect to ask her to quit. Remorse did not show itself. Action is the only choice if conversation proves insufficient. "Judy, let us go." "However, it's good. Let's start." I persisted, dragging Judy out the house and directly towards the police station. Though I had no intention of reporting the house's demolition, theft was another matter. The cops responded very away when I told them my mother's items were being pilfered and sold. The goods wouldn't be sold anymore, and Scott's mother's account on the flea market app was suspended. On the return from the station, I phoned Scott. "I had the account of your mother closed. You were familiar with it then. You're complicit." "No, I reported to police about this. Please help the inquiry." Scott started to get crazy. "Wonderful. We are family indeed. Please pull it off." "Family? There's no indication of regret. You still haven't paid any alimony or compensation for the house." When I started shouting, Scott looked surprised. Having lived with Scott for so long, despite all, I still felt something for him. Sighing, I replied, "I'll wait for the money, but I won't forgive the theft. Get everything back. And Scott, your father looked really sick. Has he visited a doctor?" "What? Not a monster." "And not." Hung up saying, "So just passing on that message." I'd recently seen Scott's father, who was shockingly skinny and seldom talked. His complexion was unusually dark, not merely pale. Though his health was clearly poor, that family most likely hadn't noticed. Scott just acted rough with me. His wife was indifferent, selling stolen goods. They showed no true regard for others. The next day, Scott's father called me. I answered, expecting it to be a thank you call. I reacted exactly the opposite way. "Planning to throw me in a hospital to get rid of the hassle? You mean by treating me like a sick person? Scott and my wife need protection from you. I'm not going to any hospital." He chastised. Being corrected while I was simply worried shocked me. "Sorry for overstepping. I was just worried." Hemp. "Unlike your parents, I neither am weak or fleeting. Not make a mockery of me." He shot. His statements enraged me, yet a few days later he reportedly felt sick enough to visit the hospital. The diagnosis came as terminal cancer. Panic drove Scott to phone me. "Dad has terminal cancer. What am I going to do?" I snorted. "I'm not sure." When I urged him to visit a hospital, what did he say? "I'm not fragile or short-lived like your parents, so deal with it yourself," he added. "How, Amy? Could you be so merciless? You would not be such a person. Never would have thought. When my mother was ill, did you ever speak one kind, loving word? Think back on your own behavior," I remarked and hung up. Scott's father died not too long after, as was expected. Being a human being, I didn't want to have bad emotions towards the departed, yet remembering all that had been done and said, I couldn't cry. His will turned up following his funeral. Though all the talk about not being temporary, he had done extensive planning. The house moves to Eric, the grandson. My wife and eldest son are to split the remaining estate. The name Eric caught me off guard. Wanting to live with Scott, his father had always favored him. He must have wanted Eric to own the mansion long after his death. For Eric, it was inconvenient. Renounce the inheritance. You don't need that house, do you? I notified Eric. Still, he delighted in getting it. Inheritance tax made the residence more of a liability than a benefit. If he was happy, though, I had no right to comment. Eric inherited the house in line with will. Content and paying the inheritance tax was his grandma. He's our succession, after all, she remarked. Although that's not bad, I felt a little depressed, as though Eric had been snatched from me. Then something quite remarkable occurred. Come over to our house. I went immediately to Scott's parents' place after his call. When I got there, Scott's mother and Scott himself stood in front of their house, startled, exactly as I had been. The location was loaded with vehicles bearing demolition firm brands and heavy machinery. Right in front of us, workers started demolishing their house. What then is happening? That is my house. I can do with it what I choose. Appearing from somewhere, Eric said, seemed content as he watched the demolition. Eric, just what are you doing? Stop right now. Scott yelled. Eric answered, stopping it now won't make it livable anyway. What have you done? Eric only laughed while Scott's mother and son begged him. Did you overlook what Mom's parents did? Grandpa and Dad? Grandma, you treated Mom quite poorly as well. Did you say apologies? Eric's smile became a fierce scowl aimed at Scott's mother. As the big machinery began to loudly destroy their dwelling, they dropped on their knees. Seeing the scene brought me at last some relief. Later, Scott paid the damages and reparations from the inherited assets at last. Eric found the pilfers Scott's mother took from my mother and gently returned them to me. Eric said, "You always have me and Judy," and I at last started to cry with relief. Now living in a company house once more were Scott's mother and Scott, who had lost their house and left penniless. Scott and I had left the business house, but suddenly Scott and his mother had to go back and were the target of gossip. To Scott's colleague's wife, who we got along with, I told the whole truth. Although it's their own doing, Scott and his mother will most certainly have a difficult existence in the company accommodation. They will have to save for a new place to live once Scott retires. Sometimes I just want anything to chat about, so I ask my acquaintance how Scott and his mother are doing right now. I stayed at Judy's house thereafter as well. Eric then became engaged to be married. He has house building on his agenda. The former family house sold for a fair price, and it made me happy to know that even that house had value. Mom, come live with us. Eric responded. His fiancée greeted me cozily. Decided to accept Eric on his offer as I couldn't keep depending on Judy, who lived alone eternally. Driven not to be like my own mother-in-law, I am considering leading happy life with my new family.
Hey there, I'm Emma Thompson. It's graduation day, and I'm standing here in my cap and gown, feeling pretty darn proud of myself. 4 years of hard work, juggling part-time jobs, and acing my classes have all led to this moment. But instead of basking in the glow of my own achievements, I find myself watching my twin sister Olivia soaking up all the attention, again. Oh, Olivia, you look absolutely stunning. My mom, Linda, gushes, fussing over Olivia's perfectly styled hair. I roll my eyes and mutter, "Thanks, Mom. I'm here too, you know." My dad, Robert, claps me on the back. "Good job, kiddo. Your sister's valedictorian speech is going to blow everyone away." I bite my tongue, resisting the urge to point out that I'm graduating summa cum laude, while Olivia barely scraped by with a C average. But hey, who's counting, right? My best friend Jake sidles up to me, sensing my frustration. "Congrats, Em. You killed it these past 4 years." "Thanks, Jake," I reply, grateful for his support. As we line up for the ceremony, I overhear my parents whispering excitedly, "Do you think she'll like the surprise?" My mom asks. Dad chuckles. "Are you kidding? It's going to knock her socks off." I lean in, curiosity piqued. "What surprise?" They exchange a look, and Mom says, "Oh, nothing for you to worry about, Emma. Just focus on your big day." The ceremony drags on, and I can't shake the feeling that something's up. When it's finally over, we gather for family photos. Olivia, of course, takes center stage. "Mom, Dad, can we go home now?" I'm dying to know what the surprise is. Olivia chirps, bouncing on her heels. Dad clears his throat. "Well, we were going to wait until we got home. But Olivia, honey, your mother and I are so proud of you. We've got a little something special to celebrate your amazing achievement." My stomach drops as I watch them hand Olivia an envelope. She tears it open, her eyes widening. "Oh my God, a beach house? You guys bought me a beach house." I stand there, stunned, as Olivia squeals and hugs our parents. Jake puts a comforting hand on my shoulder, but I barely feel it. All I can think is, what about me? As if reading my mind, Dad turns to me with a forced smile. "Don't worry, Emma. We didn't forget about you. Your gift is waiting at home." The ride back is a blur of Olivia's excited chatter about her new beach house. When we finally pull into the driveway, I spot something leaning against the garage. My heart sinks as I realize what it is. "Tada," Mom says, gesturing to the beat-up bicycle. "We thought this would be perfect for you, Emma. It'll teach you the value of independence." I stare at the rusty chain and worn tires, feeling like I've been punched in the gut. 22 years of being the responsible, hard-working daughter, and this is what I get. As Olivia bounces inside to call her friends, I turn to my parents, fighting back tears. "Are you serious right now?" Dad's face hardens. "Now, Emma, don't be ungrateful. This is a valuable lesson in." But I've stopped listening. All I can think is, how did I end up here? I force a smile, but inside, I'm screaming. Dad launches into a lecture about hard work and self-reliance, as if I haven't been doing exactly that for years. Later, I escape to the backyard, fighting tears. Jake finds me there. That was messed up," he says, sitting beside me. I spill everything, years of favoritism, feeling invisible. Jake listens, then says, "You need to confront them." "What's the point?" I sigh. "Standing up for yourself. You deserve better." His words give me courage. I march inside, finding my parents in the kitchen. "Can we talk?" Dad looks annoyed. "About what?" I take a deep breath. "About how unfair this is. I've worked so hard, and you act like Olivia's the only one who graduated." Mom scoffs. "Oh, Emma, not this again. You've always been jealous of your sister." "Jealous? I'm not." Dad cuts me off. "Your sister knows how to appreciate what she's given. Maybe if you stopped comparing yourself." "I'm not comparing. I'm asking to be treated equally." But they're not listening. They never do. I realize then that nothing will change. It's time to distance myself from this toxic mess. As I turn to leave, I bump into Olivia's boyfriend, Chad. He's eyeing the beach house keys like they're made of gold. "Sweet gift," he says, grinning. "Bet that place is worth a fortune." Something about his tone makes me uneasy. I head outside for some fresh air and notice a moving truck next door. A woman about my age is struggling with a heavy box. "Need a hand?" I offer. She smiles gratefully. "Thanks, I'm Sarah, by the way." As we carry boxes, Sarah mentions she's a journalist, always on the lookout for interesting stories. "Speaking of that," she says, glancing towards the house, "that party looks pretty intense. Family drama." I hesitate, then find myself spilling the whole story. Sarah listens intently. "Wow," she says when I finish. "That's quite a story. Have you ever thought about sharing it more widely? Sometimes shining a light on these situations can lead to change." I shake my head. I wouldn't even know where to start. Sarah hands me her card. "Well, if you ever change your mind, give me a call. Stories like yours deserve to be heard." As I head back inside, her words echo in my mind. Maybe it is time to speak up, not just to my parents, but to anyone going through something similar. I look at the bicycle leaning against the wall, then at Sarah's card in my hand. For the first time today, I feel a glimmer of hope. Maybe this rusty bike will take me further than anyone expected, straight out of this toxic environment and into a future I control. 6 months later, things are finally looking up. The tech startup I joined is growing fast, and I'm growing with it. My tiny apartment isn't much, but it's mine, and that's what matters. My phone buzzes. It's Jake. "Hey, you seen Olivia's latest post?" I groan. Do I want to? Probably not, but you should. It's something else. I pull up Olivia's Instagram. There she is, lounging by the beach house pool, champagne in hand. The caption reads, "Just another Tuesday in paradise. Hashtag blessed." Unbelievable, I mutter. Jake's voice softens. You okay? Yeah, just tired of it all, you know. We chat a bit more before hanging up. As I'm scrolling through work emails, there's a knock at my door. It's Sarah, my neighbor turned friend. Emma, got a minute? I let her in, noticing the excited gleam in her eye. Remember how I said I might look into your family's business? Well, I found something. My stomach drops. What do you mean? Sarah pulls out her laptop. I've been digging into your parents' company financials. There are discrepancies. She shows me spreadsheets, bank statements. It's a lot of numbers, but one thing is clear. Money is going places it shouldn't. Are you saying they're embezzling? Sarah nods grimly. Looks like it. And guess where a lot of that money's going? I don't mean to guess. Olivia's lavish lifestyle, the beach house. It all makes sickening sense now. I can't believe this, I say, but part of me isn't surprised at all. I'm sorry, Emma. I thought you should know. After she leaves, I sit in stunned silence. Then my phone pings, a text from Jake. You free to talk? It's about Chad. I call him immediately. What's up? Jake's voice is tense. Remember how I said I'd keep an ear out about Chad's business ventures? Well, I heard from a buddy in finance that the new company he's starting, it's a total scam. My heart races. Are you sure? Positive. And rumor has it he's trying to get Olivia to invest big time. I think of the beach house, how proud Olivia was. She wouldn't be stupid enough to use that as collateral, would she? Jake's silence says it all. I've got to warn her, I say. Wait, think about this. After everything they've done. I know, but she's still my sister. I hang up and stare at my phone, Olivia's number on the screen. Then another Instagram notification pops up. It's Olivia again, this time with Chad. They're holding champagne glasses, beaming. The caption, exciting new ventures ahead. Can't wait to share our success. Hashtag power couple, hashtag invest in your future. My hand falls to my side. She wouldn't believe me anyway. I think about my parents stealing to fund their golden child's lifestyle, about Chad ready to scam his own girlfriend. Maybe it's time to let them all face the consequences of their actions. I pick up my phone again, but this time I don't call Olivia. Instead, I text Sarah. About that story you wanted to write, I'm ready to talk. It's been a whirlwind few months since I made the decision to speak up. The anonymous tip to the authorities about Mom and Dad's embezzlement set off a chain reaction I never could have imagined. Now, I'm sitting in my office, staring at my phone as news alerts keep rolling in. Thompson Tech under federal investigation. CEO Robert Thompson and CFO Linda Thompson indicted on multiple charges of financial fraud. My hand shakes as I scroll through the headlines. Part of me still can't believe it's real. A knock on my door startles me. It's Jake, concern etched on his face. You okay, Em? I nod, not trusting my voice. Have you heard from Olivia? I shake my head. Not directly. I pull up Olivia's Instagram. Her last post, from just a few hours ago, is a far cry from her usual glamour shots. It's a picture of a for sale sign in front of the beach house. The caption reads, "Sometimes life doesn't go as planned. Staying strong. Hashtag new beginnings." Jake whistles low. Chad's scam must have imploded. Looks like it. Last I heard, she was in pretty deep. My phone buzzes. It's Mom. I stare at it torn. You don't have to answer, Jake says gently. I take a deep breath and pick up. Hello? Mom's voice is frantic. Emma, thank goodness. We need your help. The company's facing an audit and what, Mom? You want me to lie for you? No, of course not. We're sorry, Emma, for everything. If you help us through this, we promise things will be different. We'll treat you and Olivia equally, we swear. I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Now you want to treat us equally, when you're facing jail time. Emma, please, we're your parents. No, Mom, you made your choices, and now you have to live with them. Goodbye. I hang up, my hand shaking. Jake puts a comforting hand on my shoulder. You did the right thing, Em. Weeks pass. The news is full of my parents' trial. They're eventually charged with multiple financial crimes, their reputation in tatters. Through it all, I throw myself into my work. My bosses notice, and soon I'm offered a promotion. With my new salary, I start looking at houses, not beach houses, but solid, modest homes I can call my own. On moving day, Jake and Sarah are there, helping me unpack. As we sit on boxes, eating pizza and laughing, I realize something profound. These two, my best friend and the neighbor who became so much more, they are my real family now. Later, as I get ready for bed, I catch my reflection in the mirror. For the first time in years, I really look at myself. I see strength. I see resilience. I see a woman who finally understands that true independence and self-worth don't come from other people's approval or material possessions. They come from within. I smile at my reflection, feeling a sense of peace wash over me. Tomorrow's a new day, full of possibilities, and for the first time in my life, I'm truly excited to see where my path will lead. The story has come to an end, but I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have warned Olivia about Chad's scam, or let her face the consequences of her choices? Was I right to let her learn the hard way, or should family loyalty come first no matter what? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I once believed my marriage to Tom was unshakable. We met in college, dated for a few years, and married in our mid-20s. Our life felt perfect. We had two wonderful children, Lily, 8, and Ben, 6, and a beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood. I worked part-time as a graphic designer, balancing motherhood, while Tom thrived in his marketing career. But slowly, cracks in our marriage started to appear. Tom was spending more time at work, often mentioning a young colleague named Tammy. At first, I didn't think much of it, just another name among his coworkers. But as weeks passed, I noticed something. He was bringing her up more often, and his work hours were stretching longer. I finally met Tammy at a company event, a vibrant 25-year-old brimming with ambition. She greeted me with a smile, but her words cut deep. "You should really step up your wife game, Sarah," she said slyly. "Someone might steal Tom away if you're not careful." Her remark caught me off guard. I tried to laugh it off, but the unease lingered. 3 months later, my worst fears were confirmed. Tom came home one night, unusually quiet. After putting the kids to bed, he sat me down and confessed. "I've been having an affair with Tammy. I'm leaving you and moving in with her." He couldn't even look at me. I was stunned. "What about our family? Lily and Ben?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I'm sorry, Sarah," he said, standing up. "But I've made up my mind. Tammy's even helped me pack." I watched in disbelief as the man I had built my life with walked out the door, Tammy by his side. She even had the nerve to make light of the situation, joking about how easy it had been to steal Tom away. I was devastated, pregnant, abandoned, and left to pick up the pieces of our shattered marriage. The divorce was swift. Tom, consumed by his affair, agreed to most of my terms. I got the house, the car, and a significant alimony settlement. We arranged 50-50 as custody of Lily and Ben, both wanting what was best for them. I tried to hold it together, putting on a brave face for my children as we adjusted to our new reality. But Tammy was relentless. She seemed to take pleasure in tormenting me, sending photos of her and Tom's engagement and pregnancy as if to remind me of her victory. One day, she sent me a sonogram picture with a smug message, "It's a boy." I couldn't help myself. I replied, "Congratulations. Let's hope he doesn't inherit his father's cheating tendencies." The fallout was immediate. Tom called me the next day, furious. "That was uncalled for, Sarah." "Uncalled for?" I snapped. "She's been rubbing this in my face for months, Tom. I'm done." "You could at least try to show some empathy," he retorted. "Empathy?" I shot back. "She destroyed our family, Tom. I owe her nothing." I hung up, seething. Months passed, and Tammy's pregnancy became another source of tension. Then, one December evening, I got a call from her. She was hysterical. "We lost the baby, Sarah, and it's all your fault. You're heartless," she screamed. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. "I'm sorry for your loss, Tammy, but that's not my fault. I have no interest in your life outside of our shared custody." But Tom expected me to show sympathy. But I had no empathy left to give. I reminded Tom that, aside from our children, I had no interest in his or Tammy's life. Even my ex-in-laws suggested I should show compassion for the sake of the kids, but I couldn't bring myself to care. A few days later, Tammy showed up at my house. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. "I'm so sorry, Sarah," she sobbed. "I think the miscarriage was karma for everything I've done. Can we be friends?" I was taken aback. "Get off my property," I said coldly, dialing the police. I also called my brother, Mark, who arrived swiftly. Tammy was still crying when the police arrived. "Sarah, please, I just need someone to talk to." "I'm not that person," I said firmly. The police escorted her off my property, and I turned to Mark. "Are you okay?" he asked, concern etched across his face. "I'm fine," I replied. "I just can't believe her nerve." Tom arrived soon after to take Tammy home. We stood on the porch, the tension between us palpable. "The kids should stay with me until things stabilize," I said. "Agreed," Tom replied, his shoulders slumped. "I'm sorry about all this, Sarah." "It's not your apology I need," I said, watching him drive away with a broken Tammy in the passenger seat. As they left, I felt a sense of resolution. I had survived the worst betrayal imaginable, and now I was determined to protect my children and reclaim my life, free from the toxic presence of Tom and Tammy. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Tammy's mental state was deteriorating, and I had to consider my next steps carefully. Full custody and a restraining order were on my mind. I needed to ensure my children were safe and that the hard-won peace in my life wouldn't be shattered again. The next few weeks were tense. Tammy continued to spiral, sending erratic messages and even showing up at my kids' school. I realized it was time to take legal action. I consulted a lawyer about filing for full custody and obtaining a restraining order against Tammy. "You have a strong case, Sarah," my lawyer said. "Given her unstable behavior, the court will likely side with you." I felt a surge of relief, but I knew the battle wasn't over. Tom tried to reach out multiple times, attempting to reconnect. "We need to talk," he said one evening after dropping off the kids. "There's nothing to talk about, Tom. We'll communicate about the kids and nothing else," I said firmly. "But we were good together once," he insisted. "That's in the past. My only concern now is our children," I replied, closing the door on any hope he had of reconciliation. The legal process was grueling. I gathered evidence of Tammy's harassment and Tom's neglect during her episodes. Court days were filled with tension, but I stayed focused on my goal, protecting Lily and Ben. Finally, the judge ruled in my favor. I was granted full custody, and a restraining order was issued against Tammy. As I left the courtroom, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had fought for my children's safety and my own peace of mind, and won. Back at home, I hugged Lily and Ben tightly. "We're going to be okay," I whispered, feeling a sense of calm for the first time in months. The victory was bittersweet, but it was still a victory. I had been betrayed, but I refused to be broken. My new journey was just beginning. Winning full custody of Lily and Ben was a huge relief, but the struggle wasn't entirely over. Tammy's presence lingered in our lives like a bad dream that refused to end. Despite the restraining order, she continued to try and insert herself into our daily routines. One afternoon, I received a frantic call from Tom. "Sarah, I just found Tammy sitting in her car outside my office. She's refusing to leave," he said, his voice tight with anxiety. "I'll call the police," I replied, already dialing. "She's violating the restraining order. This needs to stop." The police arrived quickly and escorted Tammy away. She was warned that any further violations would lead to serious consequences. Despite everything, I felt a pang of pity for Tammy. She was clearly in a lot of pain, but I couldn't allow her to disrupt our lives any longer. Meanwhile, my relationship with Tom had settled into a tense but functional co-parenting arrangement. He was still grappling with the fallout from his relationship with Tammy, but we managed to keep things civil for the sake of the kids. One evening, after the kids were in bed, Tom and I sat down to talk. "How are you holding up?" I asked, trying to keep the conversation light. "It's been tough," Tom admitted. "I never expected things to get this bad with Tammy. I'm just trying to focus on the kids and work." "I get it," I said. "But we need to make sure she stays away from us for everyone's sake." "I know," he sighed. "I'm working on it. I've been looking into getting her more intensive therapy." As the weeks passed, Tammy's presence became less frequent, and the kids began adjusting to our new routine. But it wasn't long before another issue arose. Tom showed up at my house one evening looking more disheveled than usual. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about something," he said, glancing nervously at the kids playing in the living room. "Let's go outside," I suggested, leading him to the porch. "What's going on?" "I've been thinking about moving away," Tom said, his voice heavy with resignation. "I think it might be the best thing for everyone, a fresh start." "Are you serious?" I asked, shocked. "What about Lily and Ben?" "I would still visit regularly, but I think they need stability, and I'm not sure I can provide that right now," he admitted. I took a deep breath, processing his words. "If you think it's what's best, I won't stop you. But you need to be sure this is what you want." "I am," Tom said, his eyes filled with regret. "I've made a lot of mistakes, and I need to fix my life before I can be a good father to them." After Tom moved, things began to settle down. The kids and I established a new routine, and Tom kept his promise to visit regularly. It was hard for them to understand at first, but eventually they adjusted. I focused on providing them with a stable, loving home. One day, while I was making dinner, Lily came into the kitchen, looking thoughtful. "Mom, do you think Dad will be okay?" she asked. "I think he will, sweetheart," I replied, kneeling down to her level. "He's trying to get better, and sometimes people need a little time to figure things out." "I miss him," Ben added, joining us. "But I like being here with you too." "I know," I said, hugging them both. "We're going to be okay. We're a team, remember?" As time went on, Tom began to stabilize. He found a job in another city and seemed to be doing better. His visits became more consistent, and he was slowly rebuilding his relationship with Lily and Ben. One evening, after Tom had visited the kids, he pulled me aside. "Thank you, Sarah," he said quietly, "for everything. For being there for the kids, for putting up with all of this. It's what they need," I replied. "And they need you too. So keep working on yourself. They deserve the best version of you." "I will," Tom promised. "I'm getting there." As I watched him drive away, I felt a sense of closure. The journey had been long and painful, but we were finally finding a way forward. Tammy had faded into the background, receiving the help she desperately needed. Tom was on the path to recovery, and our children were thriving in a stable environment. For the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful about the future. I had faced betrayal and heartache, but I had come out stronger on the other side. My focus was now on building a happy, healthy life for my children and myself. The past was behind us, and we were ready to embrace whatever came next. Now here's a question for you. If you were in Sarah's position, would you have shown any empathy toward Tammy after she lost her baby, considering all the pain she caused? Or do you think Sarah was right to keep her distance and focus solely on her children? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave your comments below. Hi everyone, I'm Anna, a 28-year-old marketing executive, and I'm on cloud 9 planning my dream wedding with my little sister, Sophia, by my side. We've always been as close as can be, sharing everything from our favorite lipsticks to our deepest secrets. So when I got engaged, there was no question that Sophia would be my maid of honor. "Sis, we're going to make this the wedding of the century," Sophia squealed when I asked her. For months, we were inseparable, poring over every detail. From the venue, a stunning vineyard I'd been dreaming of since I was little, to the decor and the perfect playlist. "Anna, this place is perfect," my mom Lisa gushed during our first visit. My dad nodded in agreement, adding, "Your mother and I couldn't be prouder of you girls." Everything seemed to be falling into place. We picked out stunning bridesmaids' dresses, finalized an incredible menu, and even managed to create a seating chart that would make a professional planner weep with joy. Sophia was right there with me, offering support and ideas every step of the way. But then things started to change. It began with small comments here and there. During my final dress fitting, Sophia wrinkled her nose and said, "Are you sure about this style? It seems a bit dated." I laughed it off, blaming it on pre-wedding jitters. But the remarks kept coming. At our menu tasting, she pushed her plate away with a grimace. "Who picks chicken for a wedding these days? So basic." I tried to brush it off with a joke. "Good thing it's my wedding, right?" The real blow came during a quiet coffee break. Just the two of us, after a long day of planning. "Anna," she began, her voice dripping with concern that felt anything but genuine, "are you really sure about David? I mean, you could do so much better." That stung. David was my rock, my soulmate, and hearing my own sister question our relationship felt like a punch to the gut. "Sophia, what's going on with you lately?" I asked, trying to keep my cool. She shrugged, suddenly very interested in her latte. "Just looking out for you, sis." I wanted to believe her, to think that this was all coming from a place of love. But deep down, I knew something was off. As the big day got closer, her behavior became even more erratic. She canceled dress fittings at the last minute, forgot to send out invitations, and even started picking fights with our parents over the smallest things. One day, I overheard her yelling, "Mom, you can't wear that to the rehearsal dinner. You'll embarrass us all." I tried to talk to her about it, but she'd always deflect. "Oh, Anna, you're just stressed about the wedding. Everything's fine." But it wasn't fine, not by a long shot. Little did I know, Sophia was about to drop a bombshell that would turn my perfect wedding plans into a complete disaster. If only I'd seen the signs earlier, I might have been better prepared. It all came to a head during our final walkthrough at the vineyard. David, Emma, and I were admiring the reception setup when Sophia burst through the door, her face streaked with mascara. "Anna, you need to give me this venue right now," she screamed, her voice echoing through the empty hall. I froze, completely stunned. "What are you talking about? My news is way more important than your stupid wedding." She spat, glaring at David. "I'm pregnant, and I need to announce it before I start showing. This venue is perfect for my engagement party." Emma, always the peacemaker, stepped forward. "Sophia, honey, let's talk about this calmly." "Shut up, Emma. This isn't about you," Sophia snapped, turning to Mr. Johnson, the vineyard owner. "I'll pay double, no, triple what they're paying if you kick them out right now." Mr. Johnson's eyes widened, but he stood firm. "Miss, I'm afraid that's not possible. We have a contract." "Screw your contract," Sophia yelled, then turned back to me. "Anna, if you don't give me this venue, I swear I'll tell everyone about that time in college when you—" "That's enough," David interrupted, his face red with anger. "Sophia, you need to leave. Now." Sophia laughed bitterly. "Oh, look who's playing the hero. You think you're so perfect for my sister. I got news for you, buddy, Anna's bean." "Stop it, Sophia. Just stop," I shouted, my voice shaking. "What's wrong with you?" "What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you?" she screamed back. "You've always had everything handed to you on a silver platter. It's my turn now." I tried to reason with her. "Sophia, we've spent months planning this. We've invested so much time and money. Can we talk about this after the wedding?" "No, it has to be now," she insisted, grabbing my arm. "You owe me this, Anna, after everything I've done for you." David stepped between us. "Let go of her, Sophia. You're not thinking straight." "Don't touch me, you loser," she shrieked, pushing him away. "Anna, if you don't give me this venue right now, I'll make sure everyone knows what a fraud you really are." That's when I lost it. "What fraud? What are you talking about?" "Oh, please," Sophia sneered. "Little Miss Perfect with her perfect job and perfect fiancé. If they only knew the real you." My heart was pounding. "Sophia, you're not making any sense. Please, let's just talk about this calmly." But there was no reasoning with her. In a flash, she slapped me, the sound echoing through the hall. Gasps filled the air as Emma rushed to my side, and David held Sophia back. "That's it," Mr. Johnson said firmly. "Miss, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the premises." Sophia struggled against David's grip. "You can't do this to me. I'm family." "Family doesn't act like this," I whispered, my cheeks still stinging as security escorted her out. Her screams faded into the distance, leaving me standing there, shell-shocked and struggling to process what had just happened. Mr. Johnson approached, his face full of concern. "Miss Anna, I assure you, your wedding will proceed as planned. We don't tolerate this kind of behavior here." I nodded numbly, grateful for his support but devastated by my sister's betrayal. As David wrapped his arms around me, I couldn't help but wonder how we'd gone from sharing secrets to this nightmare in the blink of an eye. The next morning, I woke up with a mix of excitement and dread. After Sophia's meltdown, I was on edge, but determined to have my perfect day, come hell or high water. "Emma, you're my maid of honor now," I said, hugging my best friend tightly. "I've got your back, girl. No crazy sisters allowed," Emma replied, squeezing my hand. I gave strict instructions to the security team. If Sophia showed up, she was not to be let in, no exceptions. As guests began to arrive, I overheard my parents arguing in hushed tones. "Tom, we can't just pretend nothing happened," my mom whispered. "I know, Lisa, but it's Anna's day. We need to focus on her," my dad replied with a sigh. I took a deep breath and stepped out, ready to walk down the aisle. The moment I saw David, all my worries melted away. His smile could light up the darkest room. Just as we were about to exchange vows, a commotion erupted at the back of the venue. "I object." Sophia's shrill voice cut through the air like a knife. I turned, my heart sinking. There she was, stumbling down the aisle in a tattered white dress that looked like it had been through a war. "This wedding is a sham," she slurred, clearly drunk. Security rushed toward her, but Sophia was faster. She grabbed a tablecloth, sending champagne flutes crashing to the ground. "Sophia, please," Mom cried out. "Don't do this." But Sophia was on a rampage. She lunged at the wedding cake, toppling it over in a spray of frosting and tears. "You think you're so perfect, Anna," she screamed. "Well, guess what? I lied. I'm not pregnant. I'm not even engaged." The crowd gasped. I spotted Mark, Sophia's boyfriend, his face a mask of shock and anger. "What did you just say?" he demanded, pushing through the crowd. Sophia laughed hysterically. "Oh, Marky Mark, did you really think I'd marry you? You're just a stepping stone, baby." Mark's face turned crimson. "We're done, Sophia. For good this time." As security finally got a hold of her, Sophia started hurling insults at everyone in sight. "Mom, Dad, you always loved Anna more. And you, Emma, you backstabbing witch." She even turned on our childhood friends. "Jenny, remember when you kissed Tommy in 8th grade? Well, guess what? He told me it was like kissing a fish." As they dragged her away, Sophie locked eyes with me. "I hope you're happy, Anna. You've ruined everything." The venue fell silent. I could feel hundreds of eyes on me, waiting to see what I'd do next. David squeezed my hand, his touch grounding me. I turned to our officiant, my voice steady. "Shall we continue?" A murmur of approval rippled through the crowd as we resumed our vows. I could see the mix of emotions on everyone's faces: shock, sympathy, and admiration. "I, Anna, take you, David, to be my lawfully wedded husband," I said, my voice growing stronger with each word. Through crazy sisters and toppled cakes, through laughter and tears, I promise to stand by you always. David's eyes sparkled as he repeated his vows. When we sealed our marriage with a kiss, the venue erupted in cheers and applause. Emma approached us, cake frosting smeared on her dress. "Now that's what I call a wedding to remember." We all burst out laughing, the tension finally breaking. As I looked around at our friends and family, I realized that this disaster had only made our bond stronger. Sophia's antics couldn't overshadow the love that filled the room. In that moment, I knew David and I could handle anything life threw our way. Coming back from our honeymoon, I didn't expect the whirlwind waiting for us. Our phones were blowing up with messages and calls. "David, look at this," I said, showing him a viral video of Sophia's meltdown at our wedding. He whistled low. "That's something," my parents said when they called, their voices exhausted. "Anna, we've made a decision," Mom said. "We're cutting Sophia off until she gets help. We can't enable this behavior anymore." I felt a mix of relief and sadness. "I think that's for the best, Mom." The support pouring in from friends, family, and even strangers was overwhelming. People praised my composure, and friends rallied around us. Even my boss called. "Anna, the way you handled that situation was impressive. How would you feel about heading up our new crisis management division?" Life was looking up. David and I found our dream home, a cozy bungalow with a white picket fence. As we moved in, I couldn't help but feel grateful for how things had turned out. Months passed, and Sophia's life took a nosedive. She lost her job, her friends abandoned her, and she ended up living in a dingy studio apartment. Then came the attempts to apologize. "Anna, please," she begged over the phone. "I'm so sorry. Can we talk?" But I stood firm. "Sophia, I can't do this anymore. You need help, but I can't be the one to give it to you." It wasn't easy, but I knew it was necessary. The old pattern of manipulation was clear as day now. Then came the night that changed everything. David and I were watching the local news when a familiar face flashed on the screen. In a bizarre turn of events, a woman was arrested for attempting to crash a wedding at the Sunnybrook Vineyard, the anchor reported. The woman, identified as Sophia Johnson, claimed the venue was rightfully hers and became violent when asked to leave. I sat there stunned. David squeezed my hand. "You okay?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I think I am." As I watched Sophia being led away in handcuffs, screaming about injustice, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Sadness for the sister I once knew, relief that she was finally facing consequences, and a sense of closure. "You know," I said to David, "I think this is the end of a chapter." He pulled me close, and the beginning of a new one. Looking around our home at the life we were building together, I realized how far I'd come. The betrayal had hurt, but it hadn't broken me. Instead, it had made me stronger, more resilient. As I turned off the TV, I silently thanked Sophia. Her actions, as hurtful as they were, had led me here, to a life full of genuine love, support, and success. And that, I realized, was the sweetest revenge of all. The story has come to an end, and now I have a question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you ever forgive Sophia? Is there a line that, once crossed, makes reconciliation impossible, even with family? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments.